All right, and with that, I'll give my introduction. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for our monthly membership engagement series. I'm so happy to have you all listening and participating, and I'm very honored today to introduce our guest, Susan McLucas from Healthy Tomorrow. She's going to be telling us her story and her work around how she's utilized the arts in her FGMC advocacy work, specifically in Mali. And with that, Susan, feel free to take it away.
I'm Susan McLucas with Healthy Tomorrow in Somerville, Massachusetts, and also our partner group in Mali, Sini Sanuman, which means Healthy Tomorrow in the local language. I went to Mali to help in the struggle against FGM in 1997. I worked with two NGOs before Sini Sanuman was founded, but my work there got incorporated into Sini Sanuman's work. So I'll be reporting on the whole time I was there, especially the artistic parts. I made 12 trips and spent a total of 3.5 years in Mali. My last trip was in 2009, but I've stayed in touch with the head of Sini Sanuman by email and regular Skype calls. We offer Sini Sanuman advice and encouragement, sometimes help with technical things and raise money to send to them. We sometimes ask them to do specific things with the money we raise for them, but we also help fill in the financial gaps left by their other funded projects. They've done a lot of work for UNICEF, and they're now doing projects for the World Bank and the UN Development Program, all related to FGM or gender-based violence. Sini Sanuman was founded in 2002 by my Malian partners, including Shaka Traore, who's there in the matching outfit to mine. At about the same time, I founded Healthy Tomorrow in the States to help support the work of Sini Sanuman. In 2014, Healthy Tomorrow incorporated as a nonprofit. The prevalence of FGM in Mali is 83% for women and 76% for girls up to 14. Mali has one of the highest rates of FGM in the world. Some studies show that it's going down faster than those official statistics for girls show. One study by the UN Population Fund showed that half of young girls were not excised in Bamako, the capital. We're not quite sure how fast, but the numbers are going down. Music is a very big part of Malian culture, and Malian music is known all around the world. I didn't know that until I got to Mali, but it would come in handy from my work. I didn't start out with the idea to use music or the arts just to help in the movement against FGM. I told the group that I ended up volunteering for that I'd be happy to do any simple task like stuffing envelopes, not knowing that in Mali the mail barely functions. At the beginning of my first placement with the Center Joliba, they had me helping out in the library, but I kept falling asleep in the heat. So I asked if I could make a poster. They said, sure. They helped me find a local artist and we got some drawings. We chose one of them that seemed to us to convey the violence of the act. Together we brainstormed some messages and added consequences of the practice and the fact that bodily integrity was guaranteed in the Constitution and some religious quotes. Then we checked it all out and went through many drafts with other NGOs whose names would appear on the poster, and finally we had a finished poster, or so we thought. Right in my last few days in town, I asked the head of the Center Joliba where we could get some money to copy up the poster and distribute it, and he suggested UNICEF and knew who to contact there, so I called them up. They said sure, they'd give us money, but they wanted to change the poster. The UN Population Fund had liked it fine, but UNICEF thought it was too violent and they made their own. Here is their poster. It was frustrating for me, but it was put up all over Mali, and this was the first poster to be widely distributed like that in the movement. One thing leads to another. We gave lots of copies of the poster to different groups to distribute, and I also used to bike around Bamako and find places to put the poster up. Clinics, pharmacies, any place with a blank wall and a friendly person. That's actually how I met Shaka Traore, the president of Sini Sanuman. He put up a poster by the counter at the store where he worked in 2000. Next thing I knew, people were asking him if they could come in after the store closed to hear more about why he was against FGM. He's been going ever since. I also met a couple of health workers that way, and they were happy to put up posters in their clinic and give them to others to put up elsewhere, but they wanted to know what else they could do. I wasn't sure what to tell them, and no one I asked in other groups had ideas either. So we scheduled a time to get together, and at that meeting, we decided to collect names of people who were with us and would promise not to cut their daughters. That was the birth of the Pledge Against Excision. That's what started Sini Sanuman. We now have 150 excisers and 14 villages who have stopped doing FGM and 80,000 signatures on the pledge, which is now a pledge against gender-based violence. Here's an exciser signing the pledge. I was never happy that my poster got nixed. 10 years later, I thought to myself, the people who didn't like the poster are all gone, and my current partners like it, so we asked a Belgian guy who'd been helping to fund us to pay for a new printing of the poster. I'd always had my doubts about the mouth of the girl, but I couldn't get anyone to agree with me. But just as we were about to go to press, the assistant of the Belgian funder said that she was afraid of the girl. That was all I needed to hear, and I got a friend in the States to make a better mouth. It took a couple of tries, but we got something we all liked. Here's the new version of the old poster with the old one in the corner. We've put up about 4,000 of these posters over the years, and we also use it as a billboard. Then just last year at Healthy Tomorrow, we decided we wanted to help prevent COVID from getting too bad in Mali. We asked Sini Sanuman if they wanted a poster about COVID, and they did. We asked if they wanted us to make it, and they did. We all decided that this time we'd go for a positive image. So we found an artist who made a drawing, checked it with the people in Mali, went through a few drafts of words together, and now we've put up 2,000 copies of our COVID FGM poster around Bamako. Here it is going up. It says, "Don't excise your daughter. Keep her strong, especially during this pandemic. Wash your hands often and keep 2 meters from others to avoid getting COVID-19. It's in French, of course. Here these young women are checking it out. Illiteracy is widespread in Mali, especially among women. I always thought our anti-FGM poster was clear, even if you couldn't read, but we had it hanging outside our office, and one day someone came around asking if we did FGM. So I started thinking about using music. Maybe I would try to put on a concert with anti-FGM songs, but we would want to be sure to get a good recording of it. Finally, we decided to go straight to the studio and record an album. My coming and going wasn't really an advantage for our project. So I was back in the US when this idea was new in my mind, and I asked friends to write songs about FGM. I got 3 songs like that. I wrote one and 2 friends wrote others. Another friend said he would have to work with a Malian musician to come up with one. That should have made me see how silly my plan was. In any case, I arrived with 3 songs next time I returned to Mali. My Malian partners translated them into Bambara. I was working with a committee, including 2 music producers, a music professor, a musician, and the head of an NGO. The National Art School let us use a room for our meetings. At first, we were all convinced that famous artists would never be willing to ruin their reputations by singing about FGM. So we worked with music students at the art school. We spent 2 months working on and recording a couple of songs, and then when we started talking about making music videos and going on TV, both of their fathers told the girls that they would have to find somewhere else to live if they wanted to sing about FGM on TV. So we were back to the drawing boards. I got the idea of testing lyrics before we started to record more songs. I gave quite a few people a list of different messages and words we might use. One thing that came out clearly from that exercise was that you shouldn't say, "My body belongs to me." After many months of my asking her, Kandia Koyate, one of the two most famous Malian singers, agreed to write a song for us, and she used some of the words from my song. Wouldn't you know it, one of her lines was, "My body belongs to me." I debated whether to tell her that a lot of people had decided that those words wouldn't be good, and decided that she was too big for that. I didn't record the song right away, but I played it for the people who had said we shouldn't say that, and they loved it. No one mentioned that they had decided that that message would be bad. It's kind of confusing. I was glad I'd kept my mouth shut. Here she is recording her song, "We Can Say No." Someone in my committee knew another famous musician, Fontani Toure, and asked her if she'd like to sing for us. She was happy to, and she liked the song that my friend Marcy Boyd had written. We were also happy to have two stars on the album. Here's Fontani and me hamming it up. I learned to sing the other song I brought, written by a friend in Bambara, and people liked it, even though the tune was not Malian. That's probably one reason I was able to learn to sing it. Anyway, we continued asking musicians and getting more songs. Some musicians told others. We got more big names like Ami Queta. We got a song about all the things women could do, from the head of the instrumental ensemble of Mali, Masambu Diallo. They could be engineers, writers, doctors, etc. We also got a rap song that listed all the countries with laws against FGM. So far, all the songs were in Bambara. We decided it would be good to have some songs in other languages. A friend from the art school, Dai, told his wife about our project, and Naini wrote a song in Sarakule. But they both agreed she couldn't possibly sing it. The big brothers would never allow it. I asked if he was sure, and he said, "Let's go see them." As soon as we told them what we were up to, they loved the idea. The subject was such a taboo that they had never talked about it, but they were all against FGM. The brothers even played backup on the song. They were all griots, very influential people in Malian society, and they've helped in the movement in many ways. We got a song in Dogon, one of the most traditional cultures in Mali. Once after the album came out, when I was visiting Dogon country, someone asked me what I was doing in Mali, and I told them. They were shocked and seriously offended that I was challenging their culture. I asked them if they knew Ali Bodel, and they did. They loved him. When they heard his song on a tape player we found, they were instantly won over. Bodel had been the biggest Dogon singer for years before retiring from music, and was then a very famous natural healer and preacher. As far as they were concerned, if Ali Bodel said something, it was true. When the album was finished, it made quite a splash. We had 8 songs against FGM in 5 local languages and 4 songs for other women's rights. We had included making contracts with 12 radio stations in our proposal, so the album was being played on the radio a lot. It was such a joy to bike around town and hear it playing on all the radio stations. Our contract also included making 5 videos. My plane ticket was coming up just as the album came out. I considered alerting our funder as I left town that the guy in charge of the NGO hadn't really done much to make the album, so that they would dole the money out to him piece by piece, but I didn't. Just as I worried, he didn't succeed in making the videos. He got a good start on 2, and 3 needed to be totally done over. In the next 5 years, with my own money, I finished all 5 videos. The first video we worked on was "We Can Say No." That was the song that said, "My body belongs to me." We worked with a troupe of dancing girls. In our rehearsals, I tried to get them cry as they were waiting to be taken to be cut. Mostly it made them laugh, seeing me cry, but finally they got crying. The day we were filming, they cried real tears, and once they started, we couldn't stop them from crying. Our videographer, who had gotten $800 from my old partner, turned up with a broken camera. When it became clear that the camera hardly worked, I stupidly rejected a neighbor's offer of his home camera. So we had no crying girls in the video, but we did get some nice crying stills. We acted out the scene of some neighbors rescuing the first girl to be taken on hearing her cries of terror. Then the exciser backed down after lots of people told her it was a bad thing to do, and the people celebrated. We got a little usable footage that day, but had to film another day with a good camera. Lots of the girls wanted to be filmed holding hands in a circle and singing, "We Can Say No." I'm still not sure if I was right to keep that scene out of the video. Giselle Portier, in her film, In the Name of Your Daughter, lets girls be their own advocates, and it works very powerfully. But I was afraid that people would think we wanted to upset the whole society. It's a serious judgment call. When the singer Adama Yalomba said that he had written a song against FGM and even started the music video for it, I told him we had all the songs we needed. But then I reconsidered. I liked the song he played for me a lot, and I'd had a new idea since we'd made the album. I asked him to see if he could find a way to dispel the stigma attached to being not excised. So he added a new beginning to his song, with his wife being insulted by being called unexcised. Then the person who insulted her is totally amazed when she says she's happy about that, and Adama gives her a big thumbs up. Since he's so handsome and popular, I think this probably has had an effect on people's thinking. I hope so anyhow. We had a new village that had recently stopped doing FGM, and the village chief was willing to be in the video. Look for the older man in the argument scene over whether to cut the girl. Adama has stayed involved in our movement. He sings his song a lot, and he came with us and sang at another village when they abandoned FGM. Everybody was thrilled to see him there. Here's a little bit of that video. Watch for that insult and snappy comeback at the very beginning. I was tricked into making the last song and video I abandoned. Should we do that again? I was tricked into making the last song and video I abandoned. After the album came out, people were always coming to me saying that they had another song against FGM. I said, the album is done, the funding is gone, sorry, but a song written by an ex-exciser was irresistible. So I recorded the song by a relatively unknown singer in a wheelchair. I thought, I wonder how she excises in a wheelchair. But no one else was raising any doubts, so I didn't mention it. Once the song was recorded and we worked on the music video for it, the women's ministry even gave us some money to help fund the video. At one point, when we had quite a lot of it done, we showed up. Let's try that sentence again, sorry. At one point, when we had quite a lot of it done, we showed it to the people at the women's ministry, and they loved it. They said to just leave it. I would only mess it up if I tried to make it better. I begged them to let me do more since it was just beginning to be what I wanted. They were holding firm, and since they had put some money in, I felt constrained to listen to them. But my partner at Sini Sanuman, Shaka Traore, stood up for me and said, Susan has come all the way across the ocean to make this music video. Why don't we just let her finish, and when it's done, we can show you the finished version along with this draft, and whichever you like better, we'll keep. So that was the decision. When I showed them the final version, nobody mentioned anything about the draft to compare it with the final. We had decided to have all the people in the chorus be ex-excisers. As we were filming, the chorus kept growing. We had about 4 more ex-excisers who had heard about the project and wanted to take part. We were happy to have them. But there was another twist with this video. It turned out after the video was done that the singer was not an ex-exciser after all. When we confronted her, she said that she had just wanted to help. We had a few very stressful weeks with many opinions of what we should do. Finally, we redid the writing on the video and just said that the chorus was made up of ex-excisers. Here's a part of that video.
Musomisenu kasikana ntulokorolo. We made 5 music videos.
Sorry. Okay, so let me stop sharing.
Since we're stopped anyhow, can you tell me, if I hold my little paper like this, can you see it?
No.
Okay, that's what I'll do then. I won't have to look down so much.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so keep going.
Okay. We made 5 music videos. 2 we touched up and 3 we did from scratch. And they have played over 100 times on Mali and TV. Getting them on TV was quite a project. It took a long time to get the permission from all the people who had to sign off on it. I spent hours outside the office of the director of the station, and my partner Shaka helped. Maybe they were afraid because things hadn't been on TV about FGM yet. I never really knew what was going through their mind, but finally they agreed that the videos could be on TV. And these were the first things about FGM that were on Mali and TV in about 2005. Using art in a struggle doesn't have to be making art. You can also get works that have already been created more visibility by putting them on TV. That's what we did with Mulade, a great film about FGM in the local Bambara language. We didn't get to the Mulade slide, did we?
So it's right here. If you want to start Mulade is a great film. If you want to start there, we can cut
I'll
to here.
start with the whole Mulade part.
Perfect.
That's what we did with Mulade, a great film about FGM in the local Bambara language, made by the director Usman Semben. In the film, the main character doesn't have her daughter cut because of all the trouble she had giving birth to her, and then protects 4 village girls who are trying to escape FGM. I wondered why I'd never seen it on Malian TV, and no one I asked knew either. I tried to find out who you had to pay to put it on TV. First, I talked to some people in the Ivory Coast who said they had the rights, but they kept not giving me a price, and it turned out they really didn't have the rights to let people play it at all. Finally, someone told me who really did have the rights to let people play the film, and I got in touch with them in South Africa. The main star of the film, Fatimata Coulibaly, was happy it wasn't being shown. She had a couple of scenes of partial nudity in the film, and she was ashamed, and her husband was mad. She had been at a showing of it once and heard people's comments about it and wanted to hide under a chair. Semben had never wanted to take those scenes out, and this may have been part of why it wasn't shown on Malian TV, since she worked at the TV station. In any case, Semben had died, and I asked the people in charge of the rights to play it if we could make a special version to show on Malian TV without the nudity, and they agreed. When I went to the TV station to tell the star, Fatimata, what I had done, she threw her arms around me. She was so happy. We put Mulade on Malian TV 3 times. Recently, we've shown In the Name of Your Daughter, a film about a Tanzanian safe house that encourages girls to seek refuge there if they're about to be cut. It's a wonderful film, and the girls themselves are shown as advocates as they argue with their parents about why they shouldn't be cut under the watchful eye of the safe house director. Everything runs by payola on Malian TV, so it's really expensive playing films. So I asked about a trailer, and they had one, but not in French. So I got it made into French, and we've put that trailer on TV about 20 times. We've also put the whole film on Malian TV a couple or 3 times. If you get a chance, you should really watch it. Besides putting stuff, sorry. Okay. Besides putting stuff up through the media, we have used singing as a way of enlivening our meetings and getting the message across. I had learned to sing one of the songs a friend wrote in the States in Bambara. We were in a village one day, and we had about 40 people waiting to hear what my partners had to say about FGM. But they had heard that another 40 people were on their way to join us, so they didn't want to start. I was going crazy, though no one else was worried, thinking, how can we keep these people waiting? I said to my partners, what if I sing my song in Bambara? And they all said, fine, we'll introduce you. So I sang Leave Her Alone, and people loved it. And they started dancing, and we all had a good time until enough people came that my partners decided to get the meeting started. Then at the end of the meeting, people said that the latecomers hadn't had a chance to hear my song, and I should sing it again. So I did, and it made a very celebratory end to the meeting. After that, my singing became a routine part of our meeting plan when I was there. A number of my Malian colleagues have also taken up singing as a part of their meetings, and people often start dancing. This is Kaniba singing and dancing with the women at Ngolobugu. And here we are arriving in Tamala, where the village chief once told us that people would fondly call us the people who danced with them. Both these villages celebrated their decisions to stop doing FGM with us. Another way we use music when we have no singers handy is just to play the album and dance. Strangely, we've done this often with excisers who had just agreed to stop excising. Here I am singing to some of the ex-excisers who were helping us film the video, I Abandon. The refrain that we sing together at the end is, Leave Her Alone.
Okay, ini cek.
We have also produced a number of radio and TV shows. We don't use a script, we just put people on the air who have something important to say. We've put quite a few ex-excisers on the radio. One time I remember an ex-exciser said that as soon as she learned how bad FGM was, of course she wanted to stop because her life was not worth any more than anyone else's life. And we've put our Club of Whole Women on the radio a few times. That's a group of teenage girls who haven't been cut and who don't mind talking about it. They said one time that they weren't often teased, but if anyone ever did try to tease them, they would just say, I'm happy about that. I'm whole and healthy, and what's the problem? And then their would-be teaser would back off. And Sini Sanuman did a lot of recording of legislators talking to their constituents about FGM, and Healthy Tomorrow helped them to edit these hours of footage into a program we could put on the TV in Mali. We hope that this is moving the discussion along toward a law. Then last year, we did a couple of radio shows about COVID and FGM, kind of the same message that is on our poster. We need to not excise, especially during the pandemic, because girls have to be strong to fight off the virus. And then recently there was a big discussion. We thought that they were going to really start working on the law again. It keeps coming up and getting dropped. Well, they've put the FGM law together with other women's rights issues like early marriage, and they're raising the age of marriage to 18 from 16. And a lot of very conservative Muslim leaders were up in arms about this, and even threatening the women's minister with killing her. And so unfortunately, she decided, well, maybe this wasn't the time, and she pulled it back, and we'll, bring this up later. So the next time that Sini Sanuman goes on the air, they plan to bring one of the imams that's friendly with the project with them to say, Islam does not believe in early marriage, it does not believe in FGM, and let's get on with this. Save our girls. So as far as advice on producing advocacy media projects, I would say work closely with local allies, assuming that you're an outsider. Try to get local famous people on board with you. Make suggestions, but let locals take it from there. For instance, on how to address the stigma of being uncut, or how to incorporate the consequences of FGM, or where FGM is outlawed, into their piece. Highlight positive deviance, like the Club of Whole Women, or the singer who said she was happy about being uncut. Put money into playing or distributing what you've made. Trust your instincts. I wish I had listened to myself more when the woman in the wheelchair said she was an ex-exciser, and I thought, that's weird. Be ready to improvise. I really should have accepted that unexpected camera offer. Put your whole heart into the job, but listen to others too. I would be very happy to put you on our mailing list for occasional updates. We send out newsletters about every month or two. You can email me or fill out the form on the Get Involved page of our website. I hope you've enjoyed hearing about our work. I'm happy to answer any questions or hear any reactions you have to this talk, either by email or by phone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan. I really enjoyed hearing about all of the work that you did in Mali and are continuing to do in Mali in partnership with Sini Sanuman. I'm going to keep the slide up here that gives your website as well as your contact information in case anyone has any questions that they'd like to send your way. But I do have a few questions that I would love to get your thoughts on. And the first is, what was your production budget for a song and or an accompanying music video? And what are some of the most common costs that people should plan for?
Well, when I was making my album, it was 20 years ago. So we can expect that it probably is more now. But I was able to get a song ready to be recorded with a few rehearsals of the musicians for about $1,000. And then the studio charged $600 to be on the album. And as far as the music videos, we were looking at about 2,000, possibly 3 sometimes. And then for putting them on the air, we usually pay about $5 a time for a song to be put on the air. Although our radio stations like the music, and when we make a contract with them, they usually play more than they have to, but that's the price they charge. And then to put a music video on TV, it's about $100.
Great. I think that breakdown is really helpful, particularly as in the planning stages for anyone that's planning to do similar work as you. I think that can be really helpful as far as setting expectations and kind of helping get your ducks in a row. So thank you for that very specific information. My next question is, and you brought this up in your talk a bit about how you encountered pushback in your FGMC advocacy work. Have you experienced other pushback either in Mali or in the United States? And if so, how did you address this pushback?
Well, I remember when we were recording the video, We Can Say No, there was a sign that I put up by the big road to tell people, how to get to the family's house where we were recording. And I would go back there every, half an hour or so looking for something, and the sign was down. So I'd put up another sign, and this happened about 3 times in the course of the afternoon.
Wow.
I presume somebody didn't like what we were doing, but they didn't say anything. So I just kept putting it up, and we made our video. And I presume that when the people at the TV station were taking so long to give me a positive response to put the videos on, I'm not quite sure if that was pushback or really it just took that time. But I just kept at it, and finally they said, okay. Now, it's really kind of weird. I didn't get as much pushback as I expected. And I think there were probably people who might have wanted to push back, but they're so hospitable to foreigners that they couldn't really, well, some people did say that they were against my efforts. But I remember one time the father of a friend of mine who was definitely against our project because he told the guy that if he kept talking about it, he was going to have to move out of the house.
Oh, wow.
So, he was pretty serious about this. And he told me that he didn't approve of it, but in the same breath, he said, may God bless your efforts to stop FGM. I want to say, which is it, guy? But, welcome the stranger or something. I don't know. So, and it reminds me of the experience that Shaka had when he first when he convinced his first exciser to stop.
Mm.
She told him that she was really mad at the first person who told her that they didn't like what she did. She was still mad at the second person. At the third person, she was like, this is not the first time I've heard this. The fourth person, she was getting to feel pretty uncomfortable. And then when he came along, charming, respectful,
Mhm.
talking about the reasons that they all wanted, well-being of the girls and everything, she said, okay, I give up. The community really is not in favor of this. It's time for me to stop. So basically, the way I deal with pushback is just to keep on pushing. Now, that's not a very good, people who are wrong, it's really terrible that they do that. But we know that we're right.
Mhm.
And so you just have to keep on going.
Yeah.
And I've heard a lot of people in this country who think that it's inappropriate for outsiders to try to have an effect on this culture that's so personal and, you know, kind of private. And, I can kind of see their point of view, but then I just, I just say, well, just try to stop me. I'm sorry. Maybe in a certain way it's, not politically correct or something, but I just can't be bothered by somebody thinking it's inappropriate when somebody is being tortured.
Mhm.
And maybe I can do something to stop it.
Yeah.
It is good to be sure to be, not the spokesperson. As an outsider, you don't want to be standing on the street corner saying, you guys have to stop torturing your girls. You got to work with and in the background with local partners. But I've had lots of people over here say, this doesn't seem appropriate to me, especially academics.
Mhm.
But I think there was only one person in my whole 3.5 years I was in Mali that said, this is aren't you kind of out of place? And many more people said they really appreciated that I left my comfortable home to come to the heat and the misery and the dust and be with them and help them with this problem. So, so I feel like even though it's a little bit, uh, I don't know what to say about that, but
Yeah.
my approach is to just keep on going.
Yeah, I think those are great lessons to pull out of this idea of perseverance and continuing to, repeat your message and make sure that you're, particularly like you said, working with the community, working in the background, and really making sure that the communities you're working in are the ones that are feeling empowered, and it's their voice, and you're just there to provide the supporting role. So I think that's an excellent reminder for particularly organizations based in the United States that may have partners abroad. Um, so that is our time today. And again, Susan, thank you so much for your time and for your insights. And for everyone listening, thank you for joining us. If you have any additional questions for Susan, please feel to reach out to her via email or go to their website at stopexcision.net. And with that, thank you very much. And the network looks forward to more conversations with you, Susan.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I've stopped sharing.
All right. So now, was